Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this Gaming.com video we're going to be taking a sponsored look at the OMEN X by HP, which is a high-performance system designed to play the latest games at the highest resolutions. In this video we're going to be focusing on the features of the machine, the different pre-built configuration options, as well as an overall look at the upgradability and expandability of the unit. In a second separate video we'll focus on the performance. Now do bear in mind, our system comes with an i7 from, of course, Intel, as well as a GTX 1080, so it can rip through games pretty easily at up to 4K. But enough of my talking, let's get on with the video. We'll be looking at the machine with two videos. This video focusing on the machine's features, aesthetics, noise levels, configuration options, and upgradability, and the second video aimed squarely at performance. While the traditional computer desktop isn't as popular as it once was, the resurgence of PC gaming assures us that these beasts aren't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. One of the most often asked questions we receive on this channel is what pre-built systems can we recommend for someone buying? Sometimes because the viewer just doesn't have the technical know-how or a tech-savvy friend to be able to help them, but much more often it's just that the person doesn't have time to build the system and configure it from scratch and then do any fault testing. They just want to jump into gaming right now and install Steam. This is where the OMEN X shines, because it also has a pre-configured and powerful machine, but it isn't locked into proprietary hardware and can be easily upgraded, components changed around in the future if you want to upgrade. Speaking of performance, although we'll touch more on this in the second video, the performance of the OMEN X does come down primarily to choice of components. The machine we were sent, for example, rips through games up to 4K thanks to the inclusion of a GeForce GTX 1080 and a high-end CPU. But HP also present you the options for buying a bare chassis to other systems which are pre-configured with SLI GTX 1080s, and i7 and 32GB of RAM and large solid-state drives. The HP website offers many different options. HP also offer just the bare bones case, which is a decent option for those wanting a custom build but with the unique case design of the OMEN X. For example, you could choose between an RX 480, GTX 1070, even up to an SLI GTX 1080 rig with 32GB of RAM and a high-end i7 if you have the cash to do so. Looks are of course subjective, but it's hard to deny the OMEN X case looks impressive. Photos and videos just don't quite do the machine justice. I've had several friends witness the computer who didn't know I was taking a look at it, and the first thing they asked me when they stepped into the room was, "What the hell is that thing? It looks cool." Part of the reason for this is actually the unusual design. The OMEN X desktop sits at a 45-degree angle, immediately separating it from the majority of traditional desktops. And while this may seem an odd decision at first, it makes a great deal of sense when you actually open up the unit or come to work on it, and this does come down to even plugging in, say, USB cables. HP have designed this unit to be easily upgraded, so if in, say, 3 months time you decide to add in a second GTX 1080, if you've got the cash, a third hard drive, almost all units come with an NVMe SSD or a traditional HDD for storage, or more RAM, then you'll be thankful of the angle. It makes seeing inside the unit pretty easily, and for a test we've decided to take the GPU and the RAM out of the machine, which is a pretty typical working scenario, and then place them back in. It was a doddle, with the angling making seeing inside the case a lot easier. Hard drives are even simpler still. You simply open up the bay on the front, the machine comes with a toolkit tucked inside an access panel, and you simply pull out the protector, plop out the drive, and well, that's about it. The case is designed in a tri-chamber manner. This means that the PSUs, the hard drives, and even the main board live in separate areas of the cases, each with their own respective cooling, and cable management is routed through the case easily. For those concerned about not being able to upgrade, say, the PSU, don't be. Each zone is easily accessible through opening a panel and changing what you need. Cracking the case open, with our system we had a single NVMe installed along with a single GTX 1080, as we just mentioned. Cables are neatly routed throughout the case, and it's pretty clear what everything does if you're technically inclined. Our system could easily be upgraded with another set of RAM. HP wisely opted to go for 2 sticks of 8GB rather than the cheaper and less flexible 4x4 configuration, or another GTX 1080 if you don't feel one is sufficient. All of the internals are very much industry standard, and this does include case fan sizes,
AIO mounts, PSU connectors, so there'll be no nasty surprises if you want to make a few changes in a year or two. The case illuminates at the front with a light strip around the 4 cubes-like features at the front, and of course the OMEN X logo similarly lit. It's not garish and won't really look out of place in your living room or game room. Fortunately, the machine is not noisy. We tested it on the desktop where it would whisper silent and under load, playing games such as Battlefield 1 and The Witcher 3 at 4K, because well, why not, all running Prime at 95. The all-in-one water cooler and numerous fans rev up ever so slightly, but not enough to be above background noise, and you certainly won't be hearing them if you're playing a game or watching a movie. The machine also comes with the usual plethora of connection options, including the USB 3.1 card readers and headphone ports on the front. The rear of the OMEN X also bears the usual USB, HDMI, audio, and depending on your graphics card selection, the typical outputs associated for that particular graphics card vendor. Talking about setup, well, setup is a bit of a strong term. It's more a case of just plugging in a few wires. We plugged in the power, HDMI, to our dedicated capture system for performance investigation, keyboard, mouse, and well, that was about it. Wi-Fi is built into the system and not a big deal, but nice to know about. This is a sponsored video, as we already disclosed, but we do actually like the OMEN X. The performance of the machine is exactly what you expect, bloatware is minimal, and basically it just works. Drivers we had for our review unit, which will be sent back, were the latest versions, but if not, Nvidia or AMD's own software will auto-update to the latest versions anyway. There's not really much else to do to it. It's the beauty of a pre-configured system. Other than setting up your Windows 10 login details and downloading Steam, setup time is minimal. Within 30 minutes of having our machine, we had Steam and Origin installed and we were playing games. Though, to disclose, we did cheat a little bit by copying over our Steam folder to the machine using a USB hard drive just to save some download time. So HP have created an interesting product line to suit a wide number of budgets. Yes, it is cheaper to build your own computer. But then you also have the time to research the parts, build it, install Windows, stability test it and fault test it if anything goes wrong, install the relevant drivers and so on. With a pre-built system, it's just plug in and go, and you get a warranty if anything does go wrong. It might surprise you the number of messages and comments I do receive, and this is from friends and viewers alike, who ask if a pre-built system is okay or if they need to change anything. When inquiring as to why they didn't want to just build their own, it usually comes down to them either not being confident, or much more likely they just don't have the time to bug fix or to make sure things are compatible and to pick out the case and all of that stuff. They just like the idea of someone else doing all the heavy lifting for them just to get a unit, plug it in, and away you go, much like a modern console.
We hope you've enjoyed this sponsored look at the OMEN X by HP. Do check out the link in the video description to check out the performance of the machine. But, of course, in this video we've seen how the system is easily upgradable. You can, of course, change the components out at a later date if you want, and overall it does offer you that peace of mind to know that this system can be upgraded whenever you would like. Well, with that said, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.